Thank you again to the Glassman for sponsoring the shir and organising the shir and doing everything for the shir. It used to be that I used to do everything and asked them to help. Now it's we help you do whatever you want. We stopped actually giving the shir, but then I remember that your grandmother actually didn't stop dying. So it has, there is something about renewing, even though we may stop, that neshamas should always be with us.
Amen.
Now tonight, it's unusual for me to introduce my brother-in-law to give the share. He asked me just to say, I'm his brother-in-law. So I know a man who looks very similar to him, who is remarkable in what he does, everything that he produces for the new modern learning methods of computer high-tech graphics with the great help of Sharon Katz here, is just amazing. And you'll see from the graphics and the design and the things that he's got about, I think, 30 or 40 shurim now, 40 or 30 or 40 shurim, which have been, each one is production within its own. It's something first class, and it gives me, I'm very proud to have Dan as a brother-in-law who has achieved so much. From a little boy who wouldn't come into people's houses, so sharp to this great orator. Let's hope for all our children.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here tonight amongst so many familiar faces, friends. And Jackie's actually been my dentist for I don't know how many years, about 30 years, and I was hesitant to come speak here tonight, but he told me to get a free filling, so I thought
You don't need it.
Okay, so any animal lovers in the audience? Show of hands, please. Any animal lovers? Okay, great. I'm going to need your help to identify the four animals we have over here. Number one, we have leopard, I hope. Followed by a
Eagle.
Followed by a deer, fantastic. And finally, we have the lion. Anybody know what is so unique about these four animals?
First pasuk of Shulchan Aruch.
Somebody said it right?
The beginning of Shulchan Aruch.
Ethics of the Fathers, Pirkei Avot, beautiful, says, you heard the Mentema tells us, Havi'az kanomet, to be bold as a leopard, Kal kanesha, light as a deer, Rotz katzvi, to run like a deer, and finally to be Gibor, Kari, mighty as a lion, La Seisetzein Avicha Shebeshamayim, to do the will of our Father in heaven. Now, this is going to be the topic of today's presentation, and believe it or not, these four animals are going to teach us how to undertake and successfully carry out any project in your life. Any endeavor that you try and undertake, if you analyze it carefully, you'll see that these four animals can teach us exactly how to achieve everything we can in this world. And a person could think that these four character traits are good things to have in general in one's life. In one area of life, it's good to be bold as a leopard. In another unconnected area, it's good to be light as an eagle. But there's no intrinsic connection. However, we're going to be following the opinions, the commentators who understand that these four character traits represent four stages in any endeavor. Come in. Any project, if you analyze it carefully, you'll see that it can be broken down into these four stages, and that's what we're going to be learning about this evening. A person who thoroughly understands these four character traits and internalizes the lessons that they can teach us will have virtually no end to what they can achieve in this world. They'll be able to achieve the highest peaks of human achievement, overcome challenges they never dreamed they could overcome. And if you think I'm just trying to get off to a dramatic start, you couldn't be more right. These are also, in fact, the sentiments of none other than Elijah, the prophet. Tana de Eliyahu Novi tells us, that a Jew is capable of achieving heights of spirituality beyond that of the ministering angels. As the Talmud tells us, righteous people throughout generations were privy to things that are hidden from even the Malachim, those closest to God. And Eliyahu Novi goes on to explain the incredible potential that each one of us has. As the commentators explain, each one of us has inside of us a chelek Eloi kara. We all have a part of God, so to speak, inside of us. Just like God is infinite, there's virtually no end to what we can achieve. And then after elaborating on the greatness that we can achieve in this world, Eliyahu concludes with what seems to be a rather cryptic conclusion. He says, Lochein, therefore, Shomu Chachamim Mishnah, the rabbis have taught us to be bold as a leopard, light as an eagle, light like a deer, and be mighty as a lion. And the question I open up to you all is, what is the connection? Right? Eliyahu starts off describing to us what we can do in this world, how incredible achievements we can achieve and we can do. And then he says, therefore, because you have these abilities, follow the Mishnah. What is the connection? Anybody, what is the connection between the first and the second statement in the Tanakh of Eliyahu? Question is clear? Simon? Johnny? Yeah? Sure? The answer is, my friends, that Eliyahu Hanavi understood that this teaching of the sages, more than any other teaching in the oral law, holds the key to bringing out our potential. And therefore, after describing the great heights that we can achieve, he says, therefore, if you want to maximize, you want to bring out all your latent abilities, follow this mission. And this is something I've seen with my own eyes. I've seen one 18-year-old boy turn his life around based on some of the lessons taught in this mission. I've spoken to business people in their 50s who told me they use the lessons to excel in their working life. Whatever it is, male, female, young or old, you'll see that this Mishnah and these four character traits have the ability to bring out all our potential. This is something that is so appropriate for this time of year when we're all trying to maximize ourselves, we're all trying to decide what we're going to achieve in this world, what we're going to be taking upon ourselves for the coming year. I guarantee that this Mishnah will help you bring out those abilities and make this year the most successful year you've had. So without further ado, let's begin with the first stage, which was to be bold as a leopard. Okay, so animal lovers. What is so bold about a leopard? Anybody know? Okay, how does that express itself? Good, no fear. Anybody know how much a leopard weighs? 45 kilo, 100 pounds. The leopard, as far as the big cats go, the leopard is the smallest of the big cats. And yet, pound for pound, kilo for kilo, the leopard is the mightiest hunter of them all. Able to take down elands, that's the largest of the African antelopes, weighing hundreds of pounds, hundreds of kilos, many, many times the size. And there's even several observations of leopards carrying young giraffes up a tree. Okay, young giraffe weighing 4 or 5 times the weight of the leopard, and they've managed to carry it up 5.7 meters up a tree. And the lesson for us is, says Rashi, when it comes to doing good deeds, we have to strengthen ourselves beyond our perceived capabilities. How often do people approach us to organize a charity event, right, a chesed, to speak in public, whatever it is, somebody asks you to do something, and what's our first reaction? What's our initial thought? Me? Forget it, I can't do that. We come up with a million excuses why we aren't cut out for the job. And the leopard teaches us, for example, not to be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the task, but to tackle the project head on. Just like the leopard is able and willing to take on animals many, many times its size, so too in life we have to be willing to take on projects that at first glance seem a bit beyond, a bit daunting, right? Imagine the leopard was over here, and in front of him was a young lion, and we asked the leopard to carry the the giraffe up the tree, right? The leopard would say, me? Forget it, I can't do that, right? You could pick the wrong animal. I weigh a pesky 45 kilo. You ask the elephant or some big animal. The leopard doesn't do that. It takes on animals many times its size, and that is the lesson for us. And if you look into history and you read up about large organizations, and you find out who started them, you'll find that somewhere down the line, there was somebody who had this ability to be bold as a leopard, not to be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the task. Just to take a few examples, I'm going to have time to go through all the examples. Let's begin with Hatzalah. Hatzalah was founded by, anybody know? Heschel Weber. Let me tell you a bit about Heschel. No one heard about Heschel? Show of hands, no one? Okay, Heschel was a Hasidic Jew from Williamsburg. And he had no medical training, never gone to university. He was the last person that you would ever dream of starting Hatzalah. And yet, it's all thanks to this one man, this Hasidus Jew in his 30s, that Hatzalah is what it is today, right? The largest medical volunteer organization in the world with branches in America, Canada, South America, England, all over the world, right? It saves hundreds and maybe thousands of people's lives each year, started by Heschel Rebbe. What happened was like this. Heschel was walking down the street one day, and somebody walking in front of him has a heart attack, falls to the floor. People realize they have to get an ambulance. Somebody calls for medical aid. 5 minutes pass, no sign of the ambulance. 6 minutes pass, 7 minutes pass, no sign of any medical aid. By this time the man was on the floor, he was turning blue. 10 minutes passed, it was 11 minutes till the ambulance arrived at the scene. Of course, by that time, the man had already passed away. There was nothing to be done. Heschel realized he has to do something. And he took a first aid course. We've all done that, but he did more than that. He went out and bought himself an oxygen tank. He spread the word around town that if anybody ever needed any medical aid, they should come to Heschel. A few weeks later, a woman wakes up early in the morning, finds her husband next to her, unconscious. She lets out a blood-curdling cry. Neighbors come, there's a whole commotion. People say, quick, call Heschel. Maybe Heschel can come. He comes with his oxygen tank. By the time you arrive, there's nothing to do. The man had actually passed away a few hours earlier, in the middle of the night, in the middle of his sleep. As Heschel was walking out of the room, he heard people muttering to one another, Heschel killed that man. Imagine you were Heschel. Imagine all the energy and the time that you'd invest in trying to help society, to help build the world, to help humanity, and people throw it in your face and say, you're the cause of a death. What will most of us do? I don't need this. Give up. Heschel had this trait of Az Kanomet, and bold as a leopard, and thanks to him we have, as I said, the largest medical organization in the world today. Another example, Sarah Schneera. Right? I don't have to tell you too much about Sarah Schneera. I just will mention that if you ever want to take footage of Beis Yaakov girls coming out of school, don't do what I did. I stood with my hat and jacket behind the tree because I wanted to keep my hand steady as I was holding the video camera opposite the school my daughters go to. And next thing I know, the police car turned up. Ask me lots of questions, so don't try that. Sarah Schneera, founder of not just one school, right, but a whole change of schools, revolutionized Jewish education for women. Today we take it for granted, of course, like, you know, there's nothing new about that. Of course, why shouldn't a Jewish woman have exactly the same opportunities, right, in Jewish education as a man? But we only take it so for granted because 100 odd years ago, there was a lady who changed that, but it wasn't like that, of course. In her time, girls didn't have any formal Jewish education. Like the boys had Chadorim, they had yeshivas, but girls had nothing. And Sarah Schneera was a simple seamstress. Again, none of the credentials you'd think it would take for a visionary to begin this organization. No formal Jewish education herself. Simple seamstress, began with 2 students. Didn't have money to buy teacher's desk, no blackboard, just started with 2 girls, and from that has started a whole chain of school, revolutionized Jewish education forever. People were against her, people tried to put her in chayrim, ostracize her. Gedolim, many of the great leaders of the generation were against her. People tried to talk her out, her own family tried to talk her out of it, her friends tried to talk her out of it. And only after she got a blessing from one of the great leaders, she bracha v'atzlacha, she managed to do her work. But it wasn't easy. Even after that blessing, she came to new towns to try and build new schools, but rather than help her, people picked up stones and threw it at her. But rather than give up, Sarah picked up those stones and said, from these schools I'm going to start new schools. And from these stones I'm going to start new schools. Noach Weinberg, right, started famous Eshet Torah. Many, many examples of people who are bold to that. But now these examples I've given happen to be ones that made it into books and magazines and the world famous. But the truth is that this trait of being bold as a leopard has nothing to do with fame. Anytime you are considering undertaking a task and your initial reaction is, it's too hard for me, it's beyond me, and you nevertheless push forward and you have that boldness, so you've had this trait of being bold as a leopard, right? Could be you decide, I want to not get angry this year, I want to stop speaking Lashon Hara, whatever it is, whatever character trait you want to undertake for your year, If your initial reaction is, forget it, it's too hard, then you nevertheless persevere. So you have actualized the first of the 4 character traits we're learning today. Any questions on stage 1 before we go on to stage 2? Okay, wonderful. Stage 2, to be light as an eagle. Now take a look at this bird, animal lovers. Does this look like a light bird? Anybody know what the lightest bird is? Hummingbird, brilliant, weighing 1.6 grams. That's as much as like a Tetley tea bag. Eagle, on the other hand, weighing in at about 4 or 5 kilo. That makes the eagle about 5,000 times heavier than the lightest bird. So what on earth was Yehuda ben Tamar talking about when he told us to be light as an eagle? I don't understand. He'd never gone outside, never lifted up his eyes to the sky and seen this whopping big bird. So it was off to the library for me to do some research. And I came across a fascinating book written by Seton Gordon, who's an ornithologist. Right? Spell that one, Johnny. Ornithologist, somebody has a particular love for birds, and Seton had a particular love for eagles. And he spent 8 years of his life, get this, 8 years tracking eagles. And he followed them around the Scottish mountains where he lived with his wife, Audrey. These are some pictures they took. This is in the 1920s. Imagine this was taken with old plate cameras. Imagine stepping there around the Scottish mountains. And Seton collected his findings in a fascinating book called Days of the Golden Eagle. I think it should be called Years with the Golden Eagle, considering how long he spent tracking this animal. And in this book, he notes every aspect of this bird's existence, where it eats, what it eats, everything about it. And he notes the following observation, and that is, as most birds, if they want to fly from A to B, they'll fly in a straight line. The eagle, weather permitting, will first fly in circles, spiraling higher and higher and higher until it reaches phenomenal heights, 8,000 feet. That's as much as an airplane can fly. From that great height, it then travels in one long swoop for up to 20 miles without moving its wings once. 20 miles without having to exert any power of its own energy. In the words of Seton Gordon,
an eagle arrives at its destination after a journey on which no energy has been expended. One can almost say that the distance means nothing to this bird.
Okay, so it wasn't really Seton, it was my friend who can do a Scottish accent. The first person to discover this trait of the eagle wasn't Seton. The first person was lived many hundreds of years ago, a couple of thousand years ago, and that is Yeshaya Novi, who tells us, those people who put their trust, their hope in God, will have renewed energies. Yalu Ever Kanashar, they will grow wings like eagles. Yarutsu, they go, Yelchu, they offer, they will walk without getting tired, they'll run, they'll walk whatever without getting weary. We see that when the prophet Isaiah wants to pick a metaphor from the animal kingdom of carrying out something in a light way without getting tired out, he picks which animal? The eagle, because he understood well before Seton that this animal has this ability to move without getting tired out. And using modern technology, we're able to see up close what Seton and others could only see from far away. This is a miniature TV camera, and it's so light they've managed to actually strap two of them to the back.
These are the Argyll Hills near Loch Goyle in Scotland. Ideal terrain for Tilly and for the animal camera team. Here, our microwave receiver dish can pick up eagle cam signals from more than a mile away and record the pictures onto videotape. All we need to do is switch on, tune in, and away she goes. Enjoy the ride. Every detail of Tilly's superb aerodynamic design captured by miniature camera technology. The cameras are so light, Tilly can easily carry two, giving a perfect panoramic view of the ultimate soaring machine. She can use the mountain updrafts to glide effortlessly for hours on end.
Right, that's the point over here, that she can glide without getting tired out. So getting back to our Mishnah, we asked, what does it mean to be light as an eagle? We have our answer. Because yes, the first definition you think of when you hear the word light is physical way. But there are other definitions. A person says they're reading a light book. It doesn't mean that the book physically doesn't weigh a lot. It means it doesn't require too much exertion. It doesn't require too much effort. Someone says they're doing light housework. Again, easy going, no sweat, not too much effort. And that's what it means, say the Mefarshim about Tanura, the Oves, others, that Yehuda ben Temet means, tells us to be light as an eagle, means to carry out your project in a way that you don't get tired out. Now, sounds beautiful, right? Sounds very poetic. Be light as an eagle. Oh, it's beautiful. What does that mean in real terms? And how are we going to actualize? I couldn't think of a better graphic. So. How are we going to actualize and apply the lessons of the eagle to our lives, right? Remember, we're aiming big. We're not trying to conquer our anger or whatever character trait that you want to work on for a week, 2 weeks. We're aiming for the highest level of human achievement. And the only way we're going to achieve those incredible heights is if what we undertake remain for us for years and years and years to come. And the only way we can do that is if we carry it in a light way. So it's worth analyzing what the eagle does, and then we can try and apply it to our lives. We need to concentrate for a moment. What the eagle is doing is positioning itself in a place in the world that is able to harness a force of energy, the wind, that will carry it along for miles and miles. It's a perpetual force. If the eagle were to try and fly based on its own wing power, its own muscles, how long do you think it could fly for? Mile, 2 miles, right? Eventually, it'll lose energy, it'll get tired, and it'll stop. So what does it do? It first positions itself in a place that it's able to harness the wind, which is a perpetual force, and have the wind help it carry it along, right? The wind will always be there. There's no such thing as a world without the wind, and therefore by hooking together the eagle's flight with this energy source, it's able to fly for miles and miles on end. It's exactly the same with our project. When you first undertake your project, you decide, I'm never going to get angry again, right? That is an emotion, it's initial excitement. That will wear out after a week, 2 weeks, right? What you have to do is think of a force of energy to help you keep energized, to help you keep going. Now what are you going to use? You're not going to keep using the wind, obviously. What we need to do is to identify character traits that we all have within us. We all have built into us character traits that are part and parcel of who we are. That as long as we are alive, we will have these character traits. What we need to do is to think how we're going to use those character traits to help us keep going with these projects. Now, it's a rather abstract idea. What we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of real-life examples, and I hope that when you see it being applied, this idea being applied, it will be clear. So let's begin with an example. We have, let's say, a young teenager misusing the internet. It's late at night, he's alone in the room, visits sites that perhaps he shouldn't be going to, and he feels terrible about himself, and he decides, that's it, I have to stop, I'm not going to misuse the internet anymore. Okay, so that is what character trait? The fact that he's undertaken that decision is Azkanoma, right? How many teenagers carry on mindlessly? The fact that this teenager has decided, no, something has to change, brilliant. It's a bit daunting, but he's gone for it. That's fantastic, that's Azkanoma. But now he has to think how he's going to make it real, because what's going to happen in 2 months' time when he's alone again, right? Eventually he'll crack. So different character traits he could use. For example, he could use busha, right? Trait of embarrassment. We all have this trait built into us. There's no such thing as a person gets to a certain age, 80 or 90 or 100 years old, I'm not embarrassed anymore. There's no such thing. Part of being human is that you have this trait of embarrassment. So what is the trick? The trick this person can do is to connect his undertaking to not misuse the internet with the trait of busha. And he can sign up for one of the sites, Covenant Eyes, there's many, Guard Your Eyes, all these companies that basically will send an email once a week to somebody that you respect, your rabbi, your teacher, your mother, whoever it is, sharing all the URLs that you visited. So even if this boy in another 2 months is having a weak moment and he decides he wants to do something wrong, he'll be too embarrassed because he knows that somebody who he looks up to is going to see what he's doing, right? So again, he's taken a force of energy, the Koach HaNefesh Busha, and he's helped him use that to keep him energized. Okay, let's say an adult goes to a shir, beautiful, inspiring shir, all about learning. Pick a text, I don't know, Mishnayos, and the rabbi is saying how the letters of Mishnah are the same words as Shoma, and he goes straight to Gan Eden, and he's all embarrassed, he's all excited, he's all inspired, great, and he undertakes, he wants to learn all of Shisha Sidra Mishnah in the next 5 years. Brilliant. He's been, what? to undertake that as Kanama, an incredible thing. Who has the guts to undertake learning all Shisha Siddur Mishnah? Amazing. But if he's not clever to go to stage 2 to be Kal Kanesha, so what's going to happen when business gets busy, when the summer holidays come, when pressures build up? It's going to fall away. So again, he has to think to be Kal Kanesha. What character trait is he going to use to help him be energized? So I don't know about you, but most people drive for money. Let's face it, right? People are driven or motivated by money. So he could go up to somebody that he respects, his teacher, friend, whatever, and says, listen, I know that I want to go through Shisha Siddur Mishnah. I know it's going to be hard. I know that if I have some monetary prize to look forward to, a free laptop or something, right? So that will help me keep going. So maybe his friend will sponsor him. Like I did that a couple of years ago. I want to go through all of Novi, and I knew that I wouldn't manage to do it. So I took $1,000, 10, and I gave it to a friend, and I told him, don't give it back to me until each book that I complete, when I finish a book, then you'll give me back $100, okay? Haven't finished it yet, but you bet I'm going to keep going no matter what. I don't want to lose my $1,000. So again, you have to think what character trait you can use to keep going. Now, people may feel very uncomfortable about what I'm trying to teach them here because, you know, money, embarrassment, these are all like, I don't know, you don't usually think of these character traits when we're talking about spirituality and godliness and, you know, all these kind of holy things. Don't think about these lower motivations. But it's fact, God himself who tells us to love him with all your heart, and the Torah spells all your heart with 2 bases, and Rashi explains with both your yetzes, with your yetzer tov, with the drive for good, and with your yetzer hara, the drive for, lack of a better word, evil, right? These other character traits, God wants, he created them to be used ultimately in the service of God, and therefore a person has to use all his character traits to serve God. Now, in case anybody's having any doubts about what I'm saying, I decided to carry out a small experiment. We have over here different models, battery-operated dolls. These 4 are each driven by different character traits. Top one is driven by willpower. Let's see what happens when we put them. Many of you are familiar with the Duracell. Remember the Duracell battery, right, for using it? So this is our version of the Duracell test. And willpower is off. He's taking the stride. He's 2 leads in the head. What is going on? 1 second. He's losing steam. The other character traits are catching up with him. And sure enough, they overtake, right? This proves beyond any, this is done all under the proper laboratory conditions. This proves beyond a doubt everything I'm saying is true. So, you know, you can try it for yourself, right? So that's Kal Kanesha. Any questions on stage 2? Oh, I can tell this year's going to be a good year for everybody. Okay, so stage 3 is to run like a deer. Now, what does that mean? Take a look at this little clip. Rewind that. Okay. Now, if you were that gazelle or that deer, same thing, what would you be thinking?
Fight them.
What?
Get away as fast as you can.
Exactly. Would you be thinking about, I don't know, the weather? No, the kids? Supper? Of course not, right? If you think about supper, you'll be supper. You have to think about nothing else than crossing the finish line, getting out of there real fast. So the third stage is to run like a deer, meaning that yes, even after having accepted upon yourself the task and having identified a character trait to keep you motivated, there will come times of doubt that you're not sure if you're really doing the right thing. And you have to keep running. At those points you have to realize the yetzer hara, the evil inclination, is trying to put you off track. Nothing that the yetzer hara hates more than you actually achieving something worthwhile in this, with your life, with your existence. And therefore, as soon as he sees you onto a good thing, he'll plague you with doubt. And at that point, you have to focus on nothing but the finishing line. I draw a lot of inspiration in this regard from thinking about how Hashem loves us, and Hashem wants nothing more than for us to succeed, and Hashem is right there by our side, right? He's our biggest supporter. And even though things may seem impossible, may seem that it's not realistic, but when God is on your side, and He always is, if you're doing the right thing, you can be sure you'll have siyat d'shmaya beyond your capabilities. And I draw particular inspiration from my namesake, Don. Right? One of the 12 tribes was Don. And he had how many children? Anybody know?
One.
One named?
Chushim.
Chushim, who was? Stand here, brilliant, deaf. He had one son who was deaf. Now, the other tribes had large families. Reuven had 6 sons, Gad and Asher each had 7 sons, Binyamin, 10 sons. Now, Don was a Navi. He knew that from him would one day grow the Jewish nation. He knew that Yaakov Avinu was the founder, one of the pillars of the Jewish nation. He knew what was in store. Imagine what it was like for Don on Pesach night in Yaakov Avinu's house. Close your eyes for a moment and picture Yaakov Avinu, his long white beard, sitting at the head of the table with all his family, his children, his grandchildren all around him. And Don, you're Don, and you're looking around the room. And you're sitting there with your one handicapped child. And in those days, remember, there wasn't much chance for a handicapped person. Today we have, so many different support systems. What chance did Don have for his son to get married? Forget about anything else, just getting married. And Don looked around that room and he saw Binyamin with his 10 sons, Gad and Asher with their 7 sons, Reuven with his 6 sons. What do you think Don felt at that moment? He thought, what about me? Where's my task? Where is my future in this Jewish nation? What chance do I have of establishing anything when I have one child who's deaf, who's handicapped? Let's stop the clock and go forward about 400 years when the Jews are in the desert being counted into the consensus. From Benjamin's 10 sons drew forth a tribe totaling 35,000 male descendants. Yet one deaf boy, Chushim, Don's tribe, had 64,000 male descendants. The largest, besides Yehuda, who was the royal tribe, Don had the largest tribe for one son. And the Chofetz Chaim teaches us, you see from here, it doesn't make a difference what it looks like on the books. The fact that it looks like it doesn't stand a chance, in God's eyes, is that a reason to stop anything from happening? Of course not. So, keep running, run like the deer, don't let anything distract you, keep focused to realize what you can achieve. We come to the final and the last stage of any project, which is to be Gibar Kari, to be mighty as a lion. Now, the last stage of any project is obviously the conclusion. And what has the lion got to teach us about concluding anything? So we look for the Torah, for the answers. The Torah tells us, behold, this nation is compared to a lion cub. It will not lie down, it will not consume, it will not lie down until it's consumed its prey and drunk the blood of the slain. You see, the Torah singles out the lion as not retiring for the evening until it has got its supper, got its prey. Understand, there's many animals out there. You think any of them would, choose to go to sleep hungry? Right? There's many carnivores out there. Dogs, cats, they all want to eat before they go to sleep. So what does the Torah mean when it tells us specifically about the lion, they will not lie down until it's eaten its prey? So, yes, there are other animals, but other animals, if there's no food to be found, no meat to dig their teeth into, they'll settle for whatever is available, right? The cat would eat some grass, and I'm not sure if you can see at the back, but there's a little ant over here. The dog will eat anything it can get its claws on. Whereas the lion is the king of the animal world, and kings don't settle for second best. And therefore you won't find a lion eating anything other than teref, which in this context means specifically meat. Targum Yonason says teref means over here meat. So yes, other animals all want to eat, but if there's no good meat to have, they'll settle for anything else, but the lion won't settle for second best. Right? The king won't settle for some little shack to go to sleep in. He wants the royal palace. And the king won't settle for some pita and falafel or shawarma. He wants the royal banquet. Whatever kings do, they do to the best, the royal, most beautiful level. And the same with our endeavors. Having undertaken it and carrying it out, you come to a stage, the conclusion, where there's a desire to just call it a day for the sake of having it done, right? I've got so far, I've learned 5 years, John, 5 years I've been learning Mishnah, so I'm coming to the last Mishnah, and it's a bit of a tricky Mishnah. Can you imagine that desire just to say, okay, I understood it, I don't really understand it, but I want to make the seam already, I want to finish it. So you want to put it under the cover and go on to the next thing. It takes the gevura of the ari, it takes the inner strength of the line to not let go of your endeavor until it's been finished to the most beautiful and regal way. Just like the lion won't eat anything else than the best, so too we have to not settle for anything other than the best. And if you go to the Midrash, I'm not going to go through it now. If you go to all the Midrashim on that pasuk, you'll see they all point to this ability of the lion not to settle for anything else. It's not just young children who want to go on to the next thing. Right? None of us like unsettled business, and therefore, as soon as we come close to completing something, you immediately want to go on to the next thing. Right? A person, to take some practical examples, somebody comes collecting, charity collector comes to your house, you spend time with him, you listen to his woes, you write him a very generous check. As he's leaving, do you follow him down the steps? Do you say a kind word? Right? Bensi Duna, anybody heard of Bensi Duna? Philanthropist in London, passed away tragically a few years ago. I spoke to his family, and they told him an incredible way he had to, after he'd given these huge checks to people, he'd say, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for letting me be part of your project. He made the person feel that they were actually giving to him, right? It's not enough to give the charity, you have to conclude it in the best beautiful way possible. Right? Those husbands who get asked to do some shopping once in a while, so you go to the grocery for your wife, spend an hour for her, come back, shop bags in hand. Let's be honest, we were not listening. Where do you put the bags? Right? On the floor, right? Or next to the pantry. But how many of us actually take the time to put away all the items? Again, you've done such a beautiful thing. You've done such a chesed for your spouse. Finish it in the most beautiful way. Always finish whatever it is you're doing in the most regal way possible. Each one of us, every person in this room, has abilities beyond your imagination. It's brought down in the holy books, in the Sfarim HaKadoshim, that for one moment you can strip away your bodies, your physicality, and come face to face with your neshama, your inner being, and see everything that you can achieve in this world. Do you know what the holy books say? You will drop dead. So great is our potential in this world, we have no idea what we can achieve, and therefore when we come face to face with everything that we can achieve, we wouldn't be able to survive. So great is our abilities in this world. But the way to actualize and unlock all that greatness is to follow the 4 lessons we've learned tonight. Number 1, to be bold as a leopard, not to be daunted by the magnitude of the task, but to tackle it head on, just like the leopard takes on animals many times in size. But then not to be childish enough to think you're going to carry it out based on emotion, based on willpower. That's an emotion. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. Person has to think, what koyach hanefesh, what character trait am I going to use to keep myself energized for years and years to come? And then to keep running like the deer, not let the Yetzer Hara put you off track. And finally, to not let go of your endeavor until it's been finished to the most beautiful and regal way possible. Thank you all for your time. Anybody has any questions? I'm sure we will have Yes.
I'm just curious, are you teaching in England? Where are you?
TeachTorahLive.com. Check it out. This is only half of what I'm doing. The real main part of what I'm doing is videos, self-standing videos that you can watch at home. We have a mezuzah, charity, Rosh Hashanah.
The Sukkot one is just 10 shekel on special for tonight outside.
Anybody wants to go can go. Anybody who wants to see samples of the Torah Live videos, I'm happy to show them there. Thank you very much. TorahLive.com.
Yeah.
There's a link in the email that you
Yeah.
put in.
Yes.
Beautiful.